Hello, everyone, and welcome to Journey to Success Radio, a show featuring people and companies who are making a positive contribution to the world. This show will help you learn how to apply success principles in every area of your life so that you can make the most out of your skills and talents and accomplish more of your goals. To find out more about the show, please visit www.journeytosuccessradio.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Journey to Success Radio Network. My name is Tom Cunningham. I'm a Napoleon Hill Foundation certified instructor and resiliency expert, helping people to think, speak, and act positively through the many and varied challenges of life. You can find out more about me and this interview at my website, which is Tom2 and Tal.com. Well, joining me as co-host today is my colleague at TechBlocks, Peter Goral, who introduced me to our amazing guest today, Mark Bowden. So, Peter, introduce yourself and TechBlocks before we get to Mark.
Thanks again, Tom. Great to be riding shotgun with you. My name's Peter Goral. I'm Vice President of Business Development and Client Relations here at TechBlocks. TechBlocks, we're kind of a hybrid consulting company. We deal in creativity, consulting, and technology, and we help small, medium, and large enterprise companies in optimizing their business in the digital world. A typical example of the kind of offerings we get involved with are client online portals to increase better communication either inside or outside the organization. Thanks for having me on the show again, Tom, and I'm looking forward to speaking to Mark.
Our guest today is the amazing Mark Bowden. Before I get into his intro, what I was most excited about is that he recently was one of the speakers at the Art of Sales event in Toronto. I was not able to go, but what a great honor. Mark is an expert in human behavior and body language and is the creator of TRUTHPLANE, a communication training company and unique methodology for anyone who has to communicate with impact to an audience. His communication techniques, in which he trains individuals and groups worldwide, have garnered him a reputation as one of the world's foremost authorities on nonverbal communication. Mark gives highly entertaining and informative keynote speeches on persuasive and influential verbal and nonverbal language and communication structures that help you stand out, win trust, and profit every time you speak. His publications include best-selling body language book, Winning Body Language for Sales Professionals, and Tame the Primitive Brain, 28 ways in 28 days to manage the most impulsive behaviors at work. He was voted number one in the world's top 30 body language professionals for 2014 by globalgurus.org. He's also honored to be part of the TED community. He spoke on the main stage at TEDx Toronto, regular contributor to media in Toronto here, and I guess across Canada probably. You can see him currently on the CTV daily talk show The Social as the resident body language expert. That's a lot of accomplishments. Welcome to the show today, Mark.
Oh, thanks, Tom. Thanks, and great to speak to you as well, Peter. Thanks for that great introduction as well. It's quite a long one, so you drove through it.
Can I start by just asking you about that Art of Sales event? That must have been an amazing honor and a great event. Like, man, there's a lot of great salespeople in the world, and to be picked to be a speaker at that event, wow, yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah, it was a great event, I have to say. You know, the Art of people put on a fantastic event. Big venue, big crowd. We must have had at least 1,000 people there, and some great salespeople, some great other speakers. And it's always just great to speak to salespeople, because they're they don't take things lightly. They're really into performance. They're really into getting their job done well. And so you have to give them real value when you speak to them, because of course, the reality is they could be out there selling and doing what they do best. So it's great to get a chance to speak to that crowd and try and bring them some new skills and some new opportunities for every time they speak, standing out and winning that trust and getting sales. So I had a great time at the event. And actually, here's a funny thing, is that a first happened for me at that event, in that the fire alarm went off during my speech. Yeah, no, you can imagine. So the fire alarm goes off, and so it's not like just a fire alarm goes off. What happens is there's kind of a siren or a bell, and a voiceover comes over, just telling everybody that whatever it is being investigated, and just to kind of stay put.
At least it didn't clear the building.
Right. Well, look, if it was clear the building, then we'd all know what to do, including me. And I'd say, okay, everybody, so, get yourselves out, and you're all on your own. I'm going. So. Oh my God. So, what happened is we were all listening to this voiceover saying, stay put. But of course, it just continues. So I can't continue speaking because I'm battling against this thing. Anyway, I ended up handing over to the compere, who said, "Look, we're just going to stop this for a few minutes until the alarm is finished." And then I came back on when the fire alarm was stopped, and told everybody I'd put the fire out. So it was quite quite an event, I have to say. You
were the last to speak in that event, if I remember too. That you were the final last.
Yeah. They saved the fire alarm for me at the end. It's great. It's great to close events like that as well, because you can really, close it with a lot of energy and send people off. Right. Feeling like they've had a really good day, and send them off with some tools and techniques that they can use immediately. Yeah. So I actually went off to a networking event afterwards that was part of the Art of for the Microsoft sponsors.
I see.
And so, of course, everybody's using the tools and techniques that I've given them as I'm signing books, and it's just a great load of fun to see people using exactly what you've told them at an event afterwards.
No, sure.
Everybody's walking with their arms outward as opposed to inward all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everybody's communicating better. Everybody's just having a lot of fun with the body language techniques that I've taught. So that's always great to see people using the techniques immediately.
Right. Well, I'm going to let Peter ask you the first question. Before you got on there, I told him, I bet your British accent is going to come back stronger now that you're talking to another one of your buddies.
He's taking the mickey out of me, of course.
Just tell us where you're from originally in England.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm from near Manchester.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'm a northern lad. Like I grew up on the terraced houses of Coronation Street, minus minus Ina Sharples. Well, actually, there was a lady there that reminded me of Ina Sharples. The guy that built that show built it on real people, which is very unique.
Yeah. You're one of those real people for sure.
I am one of those real people. Speaking of real people, you know what? I remember the first time I saw you. It was actually on a video. You're doing a cast for Reptilian Brain, and it was so bloody entertaining. It was so fantastic. I was compelled to reach out to you, and then we had coffee down there on Spadina, and I couldn't believe you when I got in front of you, because I actually don't think of you as anything else but a guy on stage. Like, right. It's almost like you're out of sync when you're like walking down the street, and I don't know you as anybody other than a person on stage. So I'm thinking, and I never asked you this, but Is there an entertainment factor in your own background? Because I'm always interested in the people, not just what they do. But are you an entertainer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's for sure where I started off. I started off in performing arts. My degree was in performing arts, and I went on to instantly as I left, I became an actor and performed across the world. In fact, on stage, on screen. I directed shows. I was an advisor on shows as well, and I trained a whole bunch of actors as well. Again, across the world. So, yeah, I started off in performing arts, and my obsession was how do you tell stories with pictures. I was in what we call the physical theatre or visual theatre area. So I was quite obsessed with how do you move in such a way that you can affect an audience? How do you change their feelings? How do you tell stories? How do you get your data across simply with movement? And so it's from that I went into the body language world. So yeah, certainly I've got some skills around being on stage and being able to present to an audience. And yeah, maybe I should continually walk around in my own little kind of keynote. My own little...
Yeah. Well, I think, but you've studied the sciences though too. I mean, it's a combination of things. There's no question. You're not just pulling this out of the air. I mean, there's no question. You are an ultimate, entity around this subject matter. I've never come across anybody that knows so much about this particular area as yourself.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for saying that for a start, because I've really thought about this. I've really thought about body language. It isn't something that I've just kind of stumbled across and kind of thought, I'll learn a little bit about this. I've been obsessed with movement, behavior, and the effect that it has on people really for my whole life. So when I do keynote, when I train people, when I'm working one-on-one with somebody to help them, stand out and win trust when they're speaking, what I'm doing is I'm bringing a lifetime. Hopefully it's not the end of my life, but certainly many years, my lifetime so far. I'm bringing all of that to the table and all of that understanding, and as I say, it's really obsession around it. I'm constantly trying to find out more, and I'm constantly trying to improve my views and change my views if necessary to keep up with current scientific ideas around that. Right. So yeah, I've added to my understanding of movement and psychology and body language, I've added the neuroscience of this, so we can try and understand exactly what happens in the mind when the body changes. I've brought this new area of embodied cognition to it, which is about the body actually changing the mind. How your environment changes the way you think. You don't have to change the way you think. You can change your environment, including you, to change the feelings and the thoughts that you have. So, yeah, I mean, I've really thought about this, and I think that's one of the benefits is when you're talking to me or I'm doing a keynote or you're training with me, you're not getting somebody who's just a little bit interested in it. Excellent. You're getting somebody who is, deep into it.
Amazing insight. Now, Mark, you send us a bunch of questions, and I'm not going to use some of them, or probably any of them, but I'm very fascinated. Read a couple of books recently about the reptilian brain, and it almost seems unfair to use those strategies to get at the reptilian brain, because it's just so automatic, people's response. Talk about a little bit of some of the influence and persuasion strategies and the reptilian or primitive brain, because if you can tap into that, there's just some things that are so automatic that people don't even know that they're behaving that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is really powerful. The idea goes, and the science goes, is that we have a very old part of our brain. In evolutionary terms, there's a part of our brain which we've inherited, which is about 500 million years old. It's the part of our brain that does instinct essentially. It's the brainstem or the R complex. Some people call it the reptilian brain, like myself, or the primitive brain. And it's making judgments about the world around it all the time, but they are unconscious. Yeah. So, for example, probably nobody on this call and nobody listening at the moment is actually monitoring their heart rate and breathing rate until I bring it to your attention. Yeah, but those things are being run on their own. If our instincts weren't running that part of our physical makeup, we'd have to be making decisions all the time about how fast should my heart rate be at the moment? You know, how hard should I be? How strong should my blood pressure be? Is the alkalinity of my blood or the acidity of it at the right level? So we don't monitor any of that consciously. It's all unconscious. And it's the same with the environment, the bigger environment around us. We're checking out all the time, is this environment safe for us, or is this environment a threat to us? And again, it's all unconscious, and this brainstem is looking for patterns. Yeah, and where it becomes interesting for me, one of the patterns it's looking for is patterns of movement and patterns of sound, and that's what we call nonverbal. So the brainstem is looking at nonverbal patterns to work out, is this a good environment for me, or am I under threat here? Now, what if you knew the patterns or signals to send that part of the brain that would cause it to see you and the environment you're in as a benefit, so that people around you would come towards you and your content, and if you were in sales, and your product and service. So that's what's so powerful about it, is what I've looked at is the signals that you can give other human beings that are most likely at an unconscious level to cause them to be positive towards you and approach you, your product, your service, your leadership, whatever it is you want to get across, however it is you want to stand out, they'll come towards that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, we talk to a lot of leaders in different types of organizations, and one of the things that bubbles up on a regular basis is the act of being authentic. And I remember an old saying. It may not be that old, but that don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do.
Yeah.
And there's got to. I'm thinking that from an authenticity perspective, body language itself has got to be the thing that you just can't hide, right? So, right. And they should be the telltale signs you should be looking for to get the real message from either your colleague, your opponent, your competition. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I've got I've got two major thoughts on that. In that, yes, you're absolutely right. Your unconscious mind is monitoring people all the time to work out, are they a benefit to me or are they a risk to me? And it's watching their behavior in order to do that. So, Tom, Peter, and anybody listening here, okay, you are judging people all the time based on their behavior. And these are snap judgments. Now, your judgments about these people, sometimes they're spot on. They're absolutely correct. And sometimes your gut instincts about people are not correct. Yeah? Because your gut instincts will always err on the side of negativity. Rather be safe than sorry, essentially, correct, when it comes to your survival. So your instincts are not optimistic on the whole, on average. Yeah. So on average, you're going to judge people a little bit more on the negative than you are on the positive. But actually, here's the really important thing: is your snap judgments about people. Yeah. If they don't instantly go into friend category, benefit category, or instantly go into a negative kind of predator category, or you don't instantly see them as a potential sexual partner, somebody who you could procreate with, if you don't hit one of those, if they don't hit one of those three categories with you, people are indifferent to you, and you're indifferent to them. And there are 7 billion people on the planet, so you're most likely to be indifferent to most people on the planet. Yeah, does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
what it means for anybody who's in sales or leadership is that the people looking at them are most likely to be indifferent to them, and they're most likely to be indifferent to those looking at them. Yeah, we don't tend to make new contact with many new people, or at least it's a stress doing that. So as a leader,
right.
when I'm leading a group, I'm most likely to be indifferent to that group. They're most likely to be indifferent to me. And because of that, I might well show stress when I'm speaking to them. So again, you're gonna pick up on that stress. Yeah? And now maybe I've gone into predator category because now I'm showing stress, and the signals of stress are very similar to the signals of predator.
Right.
So here's what I say to people is, you want to display body language that's going to get you into friend category, and you want to do that on purpose. Now, at that point, people often say, well, isn't that a bit manipulative? Yeah, and I say, yeah, absolutely, it's manipulative. But the alternative, essentially, is to show people how you really feel, and that is what some people would call being authentic. Allow them to see what you really feel, which is sometimes uneasy, indifferent to people, under stress, which means that they might put you in a predator category, or they might be wholly indifferent to you. And the problem is you've got a great idea, you've got a fantastic idea, and now people aren't listening to you because you didn't put on the behaviors of somebody confident, essentially. Yeah. So I'm truly advocating that you perform the behaviors of somebody who's confident even when you're not confident. Does that make sense?
I was building inside to ask you, can you fake it?
Oh yeah, well I hope so, and because essentially that's what my work has been around, is how you put on behaviors, how you perform behaviors to get an effect from yourself and an effect on other people around you. And so yes, people worry about this idea of faking it, yeah. But from my point of view, if you've got a great idea, or if you've got a great product or service that you want to sell, if you want to lead people, but inside, of course, you feel anxious about it. I don't know leaders who don't feel anxious about leading people. I don't know salespeople who sometimes don't feel anxious about making the sale. Regardless, they've got a great product, a great service. Regardless, that leader has a brilliant idea. They absolutely have to fake it. They absolutely have to put on confident behaviors, because if they don't, people will not listen to them, or they'll have a negative view of them, or they'll be indifferent to them, and the world that they live in will be not as good a place, because they won't get that great idea, they won't get that product or service. So yes, you can fake it, and absolutely yes, you should fake it.
Yeah, very good.
Oh, wow, amazing. Now, Peter and I are salespeople, Mark, and so what I was thinking, I've read books, have a series by Joe Navarone, a former FBI guy, Janine Driver, and some of the things I've learned, Paul Ekman, I took his facial recognition certification, Lie to Me, he was the basis of that show. What I've learned is, as a sales professional, you could sit in a meeting. If it's a group meeting, you're doing a sales presentation, by watching how people sit. Janine Driver mentioned, I think, and maybe Joe mentioned, notice where the crotches are pointing. And you can tell even who's the leader in the room, who's paying attention, who's not interested, who has disdain for the leader or the speaker. You can tell who the leader of this particular group is, or who people regard as the leader. So body language is not just for the person speaking and using it. It's for someone who's in a room, could be observing, to see, okay, who's the decision maker here? Who do people seem to respect? Who are people tuning out? And once I learned those things, and now whenever I sit in a meeting, it's almost like you could take the volume out of all that's being said and just sit there and watch and be like, okay, that person's talking, but no one's paying attention to them. Everybody's looking at this person instead. This person's got his head down, so he's disgusted. You can tell a lot just by looking at how people sit and react in a meeting from their body language as well, can't you?
Yeah, you sure can, and I would recommend to people. Joe Navarro's books are fantastic. Janine has some great books as well, and certainly read any of the stuff that Paul Ekman has produced. I mean, he's one of the world's top 100 scientists. So amazing stuff from all of them on how to observe people and how to get a fix on the possibilities of what they might be feeling and intending. Because when you read body language, it is not for certain. Any one of those experts, I think, would tell you that when you're reading body language, you're trying to get a fix on roughly where that person might be in terms of their feeling and intention. But can you tell for sure? No, you can't tell for sure. You have to go through a full, interview or interrogation in order to get a certainty or any high level of certainty as to what that person is feeling and intending towards you or what you said or the environment or other people in the room. So here's what I suggest people do is when they're reading body language, okay, understand that they haven't got a fact in front of them, yeah? What they have is still a judgment. And what you need to do is when you've made that judgment about the person is then suspend that judgment. Put that judgment to one side and think to yourself, so I'm now judging that person as, say, closed to what I said because, they've crossed their arms and they've leant backwards and their head is now looking away. So I've got, 3 indicators that when put together gives me quite a certainty around the person being close to what I'm saying. But I then have to go, put that judgment to one side because I don't know this for sure. Yeah, I don't know this for sure. And are there some questions that I could ask this person to get closer to what the certainty or the fact may be here? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you've always got to be careful that you're not behaving based on that judgment. Because, if I view you as closed because you fold your arms and you lean back and your head moves to one side, then, if I'm in a sale, I might think to myself, well, this sale is lost because, Peter's checked out here and he's not interested in this anymore. So I kind of lower my energy and kind of start giving up on the sale. But maybe, actually, you might have been just thinking very carefully about something that I said, considering it, and not necessarily in a negative light. Those 3 indicators don't necessarily mean for certain that you've checked out of the conversation and you're negative towards the conversation. So, I should continue with my sales process, but maybe just put in some questions now that try to check out whether you're close to an idea that I put or whether you're thinking carefully about it. Does that make sense to you both?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I have a real life example last week.
Tell me about it.
I was out with the team and we were meeting 7 executives of a company, and most of everybody was quite intrigued with the story that was being told at the front of the room. But there were 2 individuals that I saw communicating with one another with eyes, right? Just
right.
like very intentionally, but hoping to be unintentional. Like you could see they were trying to be covert about the whole thing. And I'm thinking, boy, and as it turns out, the 2 people were working, they are in cahoots, as they say. Right. They do work together. And in fact, they believe that they are a more important part of the decision process. I then go back for a follow-up meeting with somebody else and find out, they actually were a bit put off because the story wasn't as positioned to them, so they felt left out. So, I mean, you're 100% on the money. I mean, I've known you now for a couple of years, and I know I find myself, even when we get together for a coffee, I keep checking myself to make sure that am I up to par? I mean, is Mark liking the signals? How stupid is that, right? Really.
It's like taking your pastor for lunch and you don't want to swear around your pastor.
Exactly.
Like, am I talking right? And
I know, exactly. I think I start like you do, Mark, early in the morning before I even get out of the house, because I know you wear your lucky red socks, and I want to hear more about your lucky red socks, because I think you dress, right? I think when I know I'm going to a specific meeting and I know that there's going to be a certain kind of executive there, I make sure that I've got all the props and the gear are right so that it flows with that. Validate that for me, would you? Because I think it's right.
For sure. So I think there are a couple of good ways to look at this about how you dress, how you step out in the morning. Is a lot of people say dress for success, which is totally true. But I think what they're often thinking is you're dressing for success because you want to show others, the persona that you think will help you win, and I think that's true as well. But what people aren't thinking so much about is actually the way you dress actually changes your behavior. Yeah, it actually, if you put on a well-made suit, it helps you stand taller. If you're wearing good shoes, it helps you stand taller. That act of actually going, I'm going to dress well, is a decision that you make in the morning. Right. So that it means the moment you've woken up, you're already making choices about your success, rather than just going, it doesn't really matter, I'll just put on anything, just whatever comes out the drawer first. That's what we call chance. That's luck. So I'm going, well, I'll either be lucky, and what will come out the drawer or the cupboard is helpful to me, or not. Yeah. So if you're dressing in that way, you're not making choices anymore, and so you're walking around with a body and a mind that isn't making choices. And I think you probably recognize this as salespeople. Every time you go and meet a client or a potential client, you're making choices about the information that you give them, how you perform in front of them, where you might go for coffee, where you might go and eat. It's not accident. You don't get success by accident. You get it by the choices that you make, because then if I don't get the success, if I don't get that client, I can trace back my choices and I can go, what did I decide to do? What was the effect of what I decided to do? And would I do something different next time? But if you're leaving it to chance, you think back and you go, I don't know what I did there. I don't know what I said to the person. I don't know what. I can't quite remember what I presented. So choosing what you wear is incredibly important, not only because, yes, it does project to other people a style, a sense of who you are, a sense of what tribe you're in, a sense of, how successful you might be. Of course it has that effect, but it also has a massive effect on how you feel. And one of the most important effects, I think, is that you are making choices from the moment that you get up in the morning. And to go back to that acting thing, actors put on costumes.
Correct.
I would, and it's an important thing when that actor puts on clothes that they wouldn't necessarily wear in their real life. And it's the same, I think, in terms of body language for anybody in sales or any leader to be able to go, I'm now going to work. And my work is to lead people, or my work is to sell. And for that, I have particular clothes. Okay, I have particular clothes. So for me, I have these red socks as well that you were talking about. And I've made a very specific choice about these red socks. In fact, I've made such a strong choice that if you come round my house and you search my sock drawer, you will find a drawer full of red socks. Okay?
Wow.
The same brand. Yeah. And so what's interesting about the decision there is no other decision for me to make but to wear red socks, because that's all I have. And so I've made a decision about whenever anybody sees me, they will see a pair of red socks. There is and people love that consistency. They love to come up to me and go, "Hey, you're wearing your red socks," and I never disappoint them. Yeah,
it's become an icebreaker,
right? For sure.
For you.
Yeah, people will go, "Oh, red socks, interesting," and then when they meet me again, they'll go, "Are you wearing those red socks?" And I am. And I have to say, there is a wonderful delight that people have in hoping that you're wearing those red socks and you not disappointing them. And you going, you've got me right. I'm in these red socks. I'm absolutely so. And it's a brand thing, I think. It's not really just the brand of having red socks. It's the brand of being consistent and the brand of never disappointing. On certainly the sock level. And so, but it's the brand of I don't want to disappoint on any other level as well. Right. Does that make sense? Does that kind of explain that for you?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, consistency is everything. If your clients know what's coming, then you kind of reduce the impact of their personal stress. And you know that you're in what you classify maybe as this beneficial platform to both sides of the equation, right?
Yeah, so you've got to give people a strong level of certainty, and then above and beyond that, now you might be able to surprise them. But if you're constantly inconsistent and full of surprises, it just gets annoying and undependable, essentially. So in your body language, in the way you behave, you want to get a consistent base level so people have an understanding of what they're getting, essentially. And then above and beyond that, you can be surprising. So it's like when you and I meet, Peter, you've got a great brand, I think, of being upbeat and energetic. Okay, every time I've met you, I'm bowled over by the energy that you have for the conversation, and I think, of course, there is something, I think, in your personality around that. But I know as well that I think it's something you're deciding to do as well. It's a decision. I think you've gone, I want to be upbeat and energetic whenever I meet somebody because I think that will benefit me and benefit them. It'll be better, Yeah. And so you've got a real consistency around that. And then what it affords is that you can then surprise me. So in the conversation that we can have, you can talk about your product and service, or anything, the art that you do and, the life that you have, and I'm willing to listen to it, and I'm willing to be surprised by it because it always comes with this great energy which is consistent. So I would, say to people listening to this, think about your behavior and think about what parts of it you should be consistently doing in order to build that brand of dependability so that you can then surprise people. Yeah, make sense?
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for that. Absolutely.
Amazing. And I got one last question because we try to keep this to 45 minutes. And I don't think we asked a single question that you sent us. So sorry about that. But Mark, I use body language a lot. Like I've had rheumatoid arthritis since I'm 5, from my jaw to my toes, 4 hips replaced, 4 knees, 2 shoulders. I'm in pain all the time, 24/7. Right. But I use body language more as a way to communicate to myself rather than necessarily to other people. If I give in to the pain and I curl up, like my elbows, like, fetal-like position, or show it on my face or limp, I try to avoid anything like that because it sends a different signal to my brain that you're not giving in, you're not going to show this to the outside world, and I feel better when I walk as tall as I can, I don't show grimace on my face, and so I use body language a lot to program how I feel against how I actually feel.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that is a brilliant way of going about changing your feelings, essentially. Because, of course, your body is in absolute physical pain, that's for sure. But also what that does is physical pain causes a different mental state, yeah? Now, of course, what we could do is go, oh, well, take some painkillers, yeah? But the problem is then painkillers create a different mental state as well, and certainly the level of painkillers that you might require could create a mental state that means you just can't perform the work in the way that you want to perform it. Yeah. So what you're doing, which is fantastic, is you're using embodied cognition, which suggests that if you input the right data into the brain will output the right behavior. So you're not trying to change your thoughts. You're not trying to go, you know what, don't be stupid, Tom, don't be silly. This is not painful. I'm just going to think my way through the pain, which some people do manage to do, but you're using a physical approach that says, I'm just not going to stand or sit like I'm in pain. Yeah, I'm just not going to. I'm just not going to do the painful body. I'm going to do the well and healthy body and the body that isn't in pain. And my guess is what you're finding is it is a route into psychologically and emotionally feeling less pain. It does change. Yeah, it does change your mental and emotional state. And I really want to congratulate you on using that technique, because so few people know about or use that technique of not submitting to the way the body wants to be when it's in pain, and actually trying to do the performance of somebody who isn't in pain. And the reason I want to congratulate you as well about it is because I know the effort that it takes. Yeah, it takes incredible willpower. Yeah, incredible willpower and focus to keep with that. So I know that every time you're walking and sitting tall and using that body to say, I don't want to be in pain, I know the effort that you're going through. So congratulations on that.
And nice of you to pick that out. It took even my wife a few years to understand the effort that is required against the forces that are acting on you. But I almost feel like Rocky or something, like, piss on you, pain. I'm going to kick your ass to the curb. I'm not going to show anything in my body or my face that you are even getting to me at all. And so it's a way of using my own body language and my facial expressions to tell pain to, like, piss off, and I do feel better, for sure. It takes a lot of effort, but it does really help you perform what you need to do on a regular daily basis.
Oh, Mark, you've got him wired for sound now.
Yeah. Well, look, I want people to really listen to the tone of your voice when you were saying that, because I think if they go back and replay you talking about that just then, they will hear no pain in your voice. Yeah. If you were to hear that voice, you would be going, this is a person who's upbeat, who's successful. You wouldn't ever imagine this is somebody, who at times is in incredible pain and could well have pain right now. Okay.
Mark, if you only knew. This morning I admitted to Peter, I almost never will admit it publicly or even to my wife. I said to him, I am aching like crazy from head to toe this morning. And so for you to say that, even when I said that, I felt like, okay, where's the pain? Like, the pain is gone. I felt in my element. Now you're bringing up that again, so now I am painful. But yeah, exactly. That's, if you play how I just said that, I felt so powerful. And so it really works. So it not only works to sell other people or sell your message, it works on selling your message to yourself as well.
Right. I mean, I think you put your finger on it, is that it's not about, using body language is not necessarily about manipulating other people. Where it gets really important is how you manipulate yourself. Yeah. And that's really the message I like to bring to people is the major point of it is you can manipulate yourself. You can be the person you really want to be. Yeah. And as I say in that TED talk, you can be more than yourself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because think about it, Tom. You should be in pain all the time. Yourself, your body and your mind is set up for pain. Yet you decide not to. And you do that through the action that you do. Yeah, and that is being more than yourself. Yeah, and I think that's an incredible thing. Yeah.
Now, Mark, we are just about at the last minute of our recording. I just wanted to, because we haven't talked about it, but I thought maybe you might want to give the audience a bit of a plug for your new executive program that I've seen highlights of, and maybe just have a 30-second review of that, if you will, and share that with the audience.
Yeah, lovely. What I'd like people to do, if they've enjoyed what we've been talking about, and they want to be people who can stand out and win trust whenever they're speaking, and if they're people who run meetings or do sales presentations or do leadership presentations, if speaking and presenting to individuals or groups is important to you, what I'd like you to do is get yourself over to presentationgenius.com. Yeah, that's presentationgenius.com. Just put that URL in or just Google Presentation Genius. Get yourself over there because there are some free videos there, some free episodes of the Presentation Genius course, which helps you stand out whenever you're presenting in any way. And I'd like you to take advantage of those free episodes, and then you might want to think about taking the whole program. Okay, so presentationgenius.com, get over there and take a look at the free videos. I think you'll all really enjoy them.
That's terrific, Mark. Listen, a pleasure as always, and hope to see you again soon in real time, in your Red Sox. Handling the truth plane the way that it should be.
yeah, lovely.
Thanks very much for today.
Thanks, Mark.
And keep the body language.
Well, we didn't even mention your website. Like, I got to do this more often. Truthplane.com, right? Truthplane.com.
Yeah. Get yourself over to truthplane.com as well, for sure.
Cheers.
Listen, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, and it's been a great conversation. Thanks for that.
Take care. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Journey to Success Radio. If you or anyone you know would like to be interviewed for the show, email Tom at tom2tall.com for details.